Welcome to New Business in Later Life, where we prove that it's never too late to pursue your entrepreneurial dreams. You will meet remarkable individuals who launch successful businesses over 50, sharing their stories, challenges, and enthusiasm. Your host, Ildiko, is a former social housing professional, textile designer, and teacher who described herself as a life artist. She is now a property professional, business network host, and facilitator of the Encorepreneurs Club. Subscribe now to hear these inspiring stories every week.
For my opening episode, I've had the absolute pleasure to pin down Beth Bird, who is the sweetheart of Touchstone Education. When I say pin her down, funny I should say that, because we were literally pinned down into these huge sofas. We sat down, sunk into them, and we were pinned down with the microphone exactly a fist distance away. We were initially like rabbits in headlights, but Beth being Beth, she's a great storyteller. So we managed to get over it and get on with the conversation. Beth and I are kind of running on parallel tracks. We are of similar age, not long turned 50. We both signed up to Touchstone Education around the same time in the spring 2022. And we are both working on generating multiple streams of income. Beth admittedly dived into property a bit deeper than I. She dipped her fingers into a number of strategies straight away. And it's super cool to see how she progressed in so many ways over the last sort of 2.5-ish years. And without further ado, let's hear it from Beth. Welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Today in the hot seat, we have Beth Bird, a property professional and a property training coach in Doncaster. Thank you, Beth, for joining us to talk about your new business in later life. Would you like to tell us what this new business is?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Ildiko, for asking me to join you today. What's happened with me is that I sort of muddled along all through my life, not really knowing what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I hit the big 50 that something sort of switched in my mind, just a big reality check, a big realisation that time's ticking and we're not going to be here forever, and seize the day and dare to be different. And dare to believe in yourself and take a chance and think, yes, I can do something differently. So I'd always had a love and a passion for property, but I wasn't educated. I was, fumbling along, having a little go at projects that didn't always come out the way that I'd dreamt or hoped they would.
I think a lot of people can associate with them.
Absolutely. Then I always backtracked back to whatever job I was doing at that time. I was like... typical Cancerian. I'd come out of my shell, have a go at something, didn't quite go and come to fruition, so I'd scurry back under my shell and go back to my comfort zone of doing whatever job I was doing at that time. I've done quite a few, none that I ever really felt that I wanted to be doing.
Yes.
And so to be able to take the leap of faith and believe in myself and go full-time into something that I'm head over heels in love with is just amazing. But that stemmed through getting educated about it.
So you still haven't revealed what is that new business?
The new business is that I buy rundown properties, I renovate them, I make them beautiful again, somewhere lovely that someone can call home. I've bought a commercial property, I've bought a mixed-use property and split that. And I'm now actually a property training coach, helping other people on the same journey, which is just fantastic. I love it because I love people.
Sounds amazing. So you love property and you love people.
I do.
So would you like to tell us a little bit more about your property business? Dwell into it a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. So it's only really in the last couple of years that I've gone into this and started this journey. And it was purely because I saw somebody called Paul Smith on Facebook, and he was talking about something called serviced accommodation, which I knew about Airbnb and booking.com and things like that, but I didn't know about how to do these things. And it just sort of piqued my interest when I saw him. It was only a quick clip on Facebook. And I thought, I need to find out a bit more about this. And so I did. I clicked the link. I did all the things that you shouldn't do on Facebook, went down some kind of wormhole and thinking, what am I doing? But thankfully, it was the real deal. And I ended up joining an education property training program, which I thoroughly enjoyed, learning about all different aspects of property and strategies and the way that you can buy a property in different entities, for example, using your pension, things like that. I didn't even know about.
I don't think a lot of people have absolutely no idea.
And so just got myself really educated so that I could move forward with confidence, knowing that at last I wasn't going to make another big mistake. And from that, I've just gradually been building. I'm not the biggest, I'm not the best, I'm not the richest. I'm just doing it at my pace. I've set my goals. I've got my vision, my ultimate why, which I think is so important that everybody needs to know their why, their reason. My ultimate why was that my son told me that he dreamt of becoming a commercial airline pilot.
Yes.
And at the time, one of the jobs I was doing was, believe it or not, a delivery driver for Amazon. As I said, I've done all sorts of jobs.
Yes.
And I was feeling really lost and out delivering, thinking, what on earth am I doing? How can I ever pivot away from this and reinvent myself? And I think the fuel for the fire for me was the fact that my son had such high aspirations and dreams. And he's taught me so much. He's taught me that if I wanted that for him and I wanted to find a way to help him, then surely I could have that for myself too.
What an amazing lesson that is.
Yes, isn't it just? And so what stemmed from the change for me was the fact that ultimately I wanted to, as a parent, be able to help and support my son Theo on this journey, because it's not something you get paid to go and do. You have to fund this yourself to become an airline pilot. And when I looked into it and found out how much it was, I was frightened at the thought of thinking that I'm not going to be able to help him. And I didn't want him to feel that in his desire to do it, he would be saddled with a lifetime of debt. So it gave me that impetus to reinvent myself and dare to dream for both of us.
That's really interesting, because at the end of the day, you had to invest a substantial amount of money in yourself first to get educated, to then be able to have that life.
Absolutely, and that was a big factor for me, because I just, at the time, and I'll explain about why I was a delivery driver at this point in my life. Before COVID, I'd had and run my own business for many years. A small beauty salon that mainly focused around elderly people. I'd mainly been working with people doing massage, foot treatments. It's just how the business had evolved over the years. And I had the most wonderful clientele. They were like family to me. But unfortunately, they were the wrong clientele to withstand the storm of COVID.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
We were all shut down, obviously. But there were intermittent phases where we were allowed to restart. But my business couldn't restart because my clients needed to definitely stay at home.
They had to remain isolated a little longer.
I lost some clients as well. It was a sad time. But as time passed, I realised that it was perhaps a wake-up call to me not to try and restart something, just to move on to something else. But I didn't know what. But during the time of COVID, when we were told to stay at home, not go anywhere, be safe, I knew that I couldn't work from home because my business was shut down.
Yes.
But I needed to be doing something because I am a bit hyper. I like to be a bit busy and get out there. So I actually got a work permit, and that's where I ended up becoming a delivery driver for Amazon, which was brilliant. It was great. It got me out each day. It gave me a purpose. But at a time when we were told to be isolated, I was out touching every garden gate, knocking on every door and being out there. And it was a brilliant, fantastic experience to be out on the roads when there was nobody. I'd get on a motorway and you wouldn't see anybody for miles. It was as though the world had ended and no one had told me. But it was great as well because I felt that I was giving something back. And I have never seen so many toilet rolls in all my life.
We're delivering a lot of toilet rolls.
Oh, yes.
Because I did pretty much the same through 2020.
Yeah.
Just drove for Amazon
Yes.
for the whole year.
Oh,
and
did you?
oh my goodness.
Oh, we could share some stories.
Yes, and it was amazing. I mean, I live in Plymouth,
Yes.
and I was driving around the Devon and Cornwall countryside, and there were no aeroplanes in the skies, there were no clouds, literally months and months of blue sky.
Yes, yeah.
And it was amazing to be out.
It was amazing weather, actually, because, you know, when I think back, besides the toilet rolls, the main things I was delivering was big bags of sort of pet food, crates of beer, and children's paddling pools because, you know, everyone was living in the gardens. It was glorious weather, wasn't it? Yeah. So as COVID eased, I didn't know what I was going to do, if I'm honest. And I sort of fell into the routine of just turning up each day and delivering. And it was during that stage that my son Theo, who was 14 at the time, told me about his dream of becoming a commercial airline pilot. And it was when I was out and about driving, I was really thinking about this. And, you know, I could get quite low thinking, well, I'm never going to be able to help him doing this. And, you know, I just need something in my life. And you know, since then, and the people that I've been working with and the other coaches that I now work with in the property world have told me some really poignant things over time. And one of them, my friend Bavin told me that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes, I was told that during a business study course some many years ago. So true.
That's when Paul appeared for me. It was on Facebook, and I saw him, and something just really touched a nerve with me in the sense of it made me sit up and think and realise that, yes, it's not too late to change or to reinvent yourself or to allow yourself to do something new. Because I think a lot of the times we don't do things is because we're frightened.
Absolutely.
It's because we are worried about what other people will say or think, and we don't believe in ourselves.
I was just going to say we don't believe in ourselves enough to take that leap of faith in ourselves, and nothing else but in ourselves.
And going back now to what I'm trying to go full circle back to what you were saying about the fact that I had to invest in myself to learn. And of course, at that time, I'd had my business had folded. I was delivery driving. I didn't have lots of money. But what I did have was, it was our silver wedding anniversary as COVID hit. And we had been saving for a long time to have a fabulous holiday. And we'd actually booked a trip to Japan, with part of it was going to be a cruise as well. And we were so excited, and we'd had this book for a while, and then of course COVID hit.
Oh my.
So it was cancelled, but thankfully we got a full refund. So the money had come back and it was sitting in the account ready to book the silver wedding special holiday, celebration holiday. But I saw Paul Smith and I wanted to go on his training program, and I spent the money on the education. So,
what did your husband think at the time?
Well, he was all right about it actually, because I said, you know, I really wanted to do this, and I really felt that I could do it, but without the education, I didn't feel that I would succeed. And he trusted me to spend the money and invest it. He supported me, thankfully. And I said to him, I will get that money back really quickly. And actually I did. Within about 3 months of starting the education program, I'd bought my first property and I did a renovation.
Okay.
Got it turned around in 8 weeks and raised the value. It was just a small terrace property, raised the value by £32,000, and I repaid the holiday fund.
Holiday fund, awesome.
And we had some extra money as well. So it was great. So I'd proven to myself and to my husband that I could do it. So that was a big confidence boost for me.
Yes.
And we then rebooked the holiday. Although we changed destinations, we went to South Africa instead and did a tour. But it was wonderful and we did it. So that's sort of how I came about leaving the driving and
Becoming a property professional.
yeah, but it was about having a why that was so big enough that it made you take that leap of faith. It dared you to almost to change.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool. So tell me about any other stories. So what have you done since? So you did
Well,
did you
what
then
I
sell that
did-
little property? Was it a little flip?
No,
Or
I fell in love with it so much. It was supposed to be a flip, but I actually refinanced the money out. And I got virtually all the money out of the deal. I've just left £8,000 in. And I've got the most beautiful tenants in, a young couple. They've been in
cool.
for about 16 months now. They're lovely. And when we went to do a property inspection, they were sort of a bit cagey and a bit apologetic. And I thought, well, what's wrong? Everything's lovely. The house is immaculate. It's lovely. And they were a bit hesitant about letting us go into the little second bedroom. And they said, oh, it's really clean. Everything's really nice. I said, oh, I can see. It's lovely. It was when we went in that we saw that she breeds tarantulas and they're wall to ceiling in lovely little compartments. And it's just a breeding den of tarantulas. And she's got a python and some other insects. And she was worried I was going to kick her out. But there were no smells. It was clean, all hygienic. It's her passion. How could I stop her
Yeah,
passion?
it's funny. I mean, when it comes to pets, usually it's sort of landlords are a bit more lenient towards having contained pets, like a fish tank or something
Yes,
like that.
yes.
Although, yeah, my next door neighbor used to have lots of spiders, and one day he posted on Facebook that they lost a tarantula, and it's like, I don't want to find that.
No.
Yeah.
But, I thought, well, each to their own, and they're perfect tenants and they're lovely people. So
You're quite happy to be a bit more
They're
lenient.
okay.
But
They're
then,
okay.
as you say, they're all contained anyway, so they're not causing any damage to the property
no,
anyhow.
not at all. Not at all.
Cool.
So what I did when I first signed up to train for the property, I decided to give myself a bit of a challenge in the sense of what could I do from day one to prove to myself and to my son Theo that I was going to support him on his journey to become a pilot. So I found out that you could actually start having flying lessons from the age of 14.
Okay.
And he was 14, wasn't he? So I then found a local flying club. It's about 40 minutes from where we live. Got in touch with them and they confirmed, yes, he could start having lessons. So what I did was I booked a lesson for each month for him to go along, and obviously weather permitting. They didn't always come off because of the weather and we'd have to rebook. But I wanted to set in a format where we were going to create our vision of what was going to be in the future. So we were going to start making it into a reality now and not wait until he's, say, 20 and going to apply to go off. So I thought, no, we'll do this now. So that is what has happened over the last few years. Theo has had regular flying lessons. And when he reached age 16, we were told that he was eligible to fly solo. And he did. Now, can you imagine watching my son at just 16 taking off in a Cessna on his own and flying and doing circuits above us? It's a moment that will live with me forever. So overwhelmed and proud and just so happy for him. But it was written in the stars because my surname is Bird and he is Captain Bird.
Yes.
So it's meant to be, absolutely meant to be. So he's ongoing now with his studying for all the exams that he's got to do. When he's 17 next year, he will actually get his PPL, his private pilot's license. And then I think that is just giving him the correct foundations on which to go and apply then to become a commercial airline pilot. He will show that he's already got the commitment and the ability. and that he can already fly planes. So
Yes.
I'm hoping that by doing this, and with the network of people I'm building up in the property world, we're going to link up with people who are going to forward him on his journey and accelerate him to where he needs to be.
Yes, but what a foundation, well, you as a family are laying for him
Yes,
to actually
absolutely.
make him start to fly from the age of 14.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, because he'll be that much more ahead
He
by the
will,
time
of
he gets to the
course he
point
will.
of applying
And even
for
now,
flying
I'm
school.
so much more laid back when I'm at the flying club now. And I think, oh, yeah, he's getting in the plane. Oh, yeah, he's just going down the runway. I'll just get back to my bacon sandwich and my mug of tea. Because I'm just so used to it now.
It's now becoming
not
the
out
norm.
of the norm to me. Yet he's not old enough to actually drive a car. That's the irony, is that you're much safer up there than you are on the road. So,
Yes, because of all the checks and
up,
double
up
checks
and, away,
and triple checks.
and he's
yes.
off, and it's fine. He's absolutely great, and he loves it.
And this story really makes me think, the cliche that money doesn't make you happy, and money doesn't make you happy. That's
No.
probably in itself true. However, what it buys you is what makes you happy.
It gives you freedom.
And how you are manifesting your own
Yes.
happiness through providing for your child.
Absolutely.
And making your child's dream come true.
Yes.
But the nice thing is that he can see that it's all happening through business. So
Yes,
even
that's
that is
right.
providing him with a really good background, that he can see that you can actually stand on your own feet. You don't have to rely on other people. You can make it happen for yourself.
That's a really good point. And I think for Theo, for him to see the transition of me being on that hamster wheel, that of the 9 to 5, working for other companies, making
Yes.
them rich and earning peanuts, for him to see how I've evolved and how I am growing
Yes.
as a person, and that it's never too late to regenerate yourself. It's really given a lot of value to him, and to see that you can achieve and you can get out there and do something. But ultimately, a lot of this has stemmed through me learning from him and his freedom of thought, and the
Yes.
fact that he has so much belief in himself that he can achieve this. He'll
Do you
it.
have this conversation with him? Does he
Yes.
know that
Yes, absolutely.
he's the fuel to your
Yes,
success?
Absolutely, he does now.
And
It's
then your
wonderful.
success is now fueling his
Yes,
success. That's
absolutely.
beautiful. Very
Yeah.
beautiful story. So we've talked about a couple of very important things to start up a business. If I could just highlight them again, which is get educated to be successful, and also to have such a big why that it will make you walk through fire, kind of thing.
Absolutely. The why, for me, the why is everything.
Yes.
Absolutely everything. The missing piece then in the jigsaw is the education. You've got to
Yes.
know what you're doing in order to be able to do it efficiently, effectively, and to get results.
What I was going to ask was, what have been the hardest parts, or do you still feel, well, it's two different questions really, do you still feel that there are still other things that you're missing in order to run your business successful?
Yes, as I say, I've only come into this in the last couple of years, and compared to most property people, I'm small fry. But what I've done is I've set my goals already, and I've set my sights, and I'm making things happen. And I'm building my business accordingly. And it's already given me the freedom of time, the freedom of knowing that I haven't got to go and work for somebody else again. But also I still have so much more to learn. Every day we learn. Every day is a learning day, isn't it? I don't think anyone could ever say they finished learning.
No, not at all.
So for me, I will always now think, what can I learn today? What's today about? I'm looking to learn. I want to learn. I like to surround myself with people who are doing so much more than me and are doing so much better than me, because they are the beacons. They're the beacons of light that I follow, and they teach me so much. And I'm like a sponge. I just want to absorb and take in and learn. And I'm very fortunate to be in a network now where I'm a property training coach, but where I get to meet up and spend so much time with the other coaches who have been doing this for so many more years than me.
Some of them. I mean, there's a whole new group of
There are.
coaches.
But some of them have still been doing a long time. And it's just wonderful because the energy, the knowledge, the way that they support and help, and I love it. It's fantastic. So everything, in my opinion, whatever stage of business you're at, it should always be evolving anyway.
Yes. Going back to what you said, I think if anyone says that I'm done with learning, they're just probably fools.
Yes.
Or fooling themselves anyhow.
Absolutely.
And I very much found myself in the same shoes. And I thought it would be good to reveal that we are both in Touchstone.
Absolutely.
I joined Touchstone probably by the year or 2 years behind you, probably, by the sound of it.
I only joined 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. So then probably a similar time.
2 years.
And so I know the coaches as well.
Yes.
And Paul himself. And
Paul Smith and Annika Smith. I mean, I'm so grateful to them. I can honestly say, and when I speak to Paul, I say, you've changed my life. And he says, no, Beth.
You've changed
your life. And I'll say, well, I couldn't have done it without you.
Well, he showed you a signpost and you followed it.
And he's just so humble. He's lovely because he'll say, well, you probably could have done it, but you would have had to find another way, or you would have done. And I say, no, Touchstone education was the way for me. And it has transformed my life. It's been incredible. But what has been really super for me is, yes, obviously, I love the property that we're doing and the things we found out. So we've been able to buy different properties. I've used my pension to buy a commercial property, for example. But what's been probably the greatest thing for me is, because property can be very lonely. It can be quite isolating and quite a lonely journey. The greatest thing for me was when Touchstone themselves invited me back to train to be a coach, because they saw what I'd achieved in my first year with them.
Yes.
And they realised that I had developed a skill set where if they could teach me how to coach and train me, that I would then be able to help new people coming on board on that same journey. And for me, that's been the biggest reward of all of this, because I love people, I love being around people. And as I've said to you, property can be a lonely journey. And I don't do lonely. I'm not very good at spending too much time on my own. So the fact that I can have a complete mix and a jumble up of my week now with students on booked Zoom calls, on one-to-one calls, and I might have 2 full days booked, and it's fantastic because I'm now probably owning up to it, the sense of nosiness that I have, actually. But
I was going to say that your energy is probably
in to be part of these students' journeys is just an absolute joy, because I can find out what their why is. I can understand what drives them, what their passion is, and what they're hoping to achieve. And by doing that, we can sort of look at their 5-year plan. I'm very big on 5-year plans. So, someone will say to me, well, I've signed up to this education program for 12 months and I've been in 3 months and I've not really done anything yet. And I'm getting really panicked. And I'll say, whoa, slow down. You might have signed up for 12 months, but in actual fact, you're in it for life.
Yes.
You've signed up to pivot and go in a new direction. After 12 months, you're not just going to hit a no entry and stop. You're going to carry on. You're going to plow through.
Is that fear of not having the mentoring beyond that?
Absolutely. But it's about building that network, isn't it?
Yes.
And I'm very big on the power of network and having people around you that are doing similar things will mean that you are surrounded by like-minded people who will spur each other on and drive each other on.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that was the biggest eye-opening thing for me. Once I joined up with Touchstone, and of course Paul in the training recommends all the way through that, well, everybody says that your network is your net worth, and go and network with property people, network with business people. So I started doing that down my way, and I'm still astonished. A few years in, I'm still astonished how incredibly supporting the business community is.
Yes.
And as you say, well, obviously people go networking because any business that you run yourself can become very lonely, because you just got you, maybe your partner, a small team perhaps. It is lonely in itself. But you go networking and everybody is supportive. Everybody shares ideas, business ideas, experiences so openly. I've never, ever experienced anything of a kind in an office. Quite the opposite, actually, over the years.
I absolutely
it's
agree.
amazing.
I think what's hit home to me is that people, they're not competitive with each other.
No.
They want to share the knowledge
Yes.
so that you can achieve too. It's not holding things back so that you won't raise to their standard or their level. It's let's share and let's all grow together. And that's what I love about the network. It is really amazing, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. They all know that everybody's just on a different sort of point on their journey.
Yeah.
So we are not competition. We are all colleagues in this.
Absolutely. It's
So, yeah.
fantastic. It is amazing. It truly is.
Beautiful world indeed.
I mean, when I think back as well to, I did say that I'd always loved property and muddled along. There was someone that I sort of latched onto when I was trying to do a project a few years ago before COVID, before I got educated, Ildiko. And I found out about this guy who was renowned for renovating properties.
Okay.
And I managed to get introduced to him. And I told him that I really wanted to have a go at a property. And he said, look, if you find a property, Beth, I'll come along and have a look at with you and I'll keep an eye on you. So I thought, oh, thanks. He was called Mike. I thought, Mike, thank you. This is wonderful. So I went off and found probably the most horrific property ever.
Don't we all?
And when I think back, I think I'd have all on to tackle it now, to be honest. I don't really know what I was thinking. But it was a period property, 300 years old. You could never find any comparables to it, even if you tried.
Did you pick that with your emotions?
Probably. Chocolate box cottage, very pretty. When you went in, you needed a nose peg because it was so full of rising damp. The smell of the musty smell and the wet dampness. And it was all, every bit of wood was painted dark black gloss. The windowsills, the old original beams, even the open wooden staircase was black gloss.
Blimey.
And there was dark wooden panels everywhere. It was so dark. But I took this on and Mike came around and helped me see what we could do. And he asked me what my vision was. And I said I wanted to make it light and bright and loved. He said, crack on. And you've got a major rising damp problem. So thankfully, he introduced me to a few people that worked for him who could help because it was a much bigger issue than I realised.
Right.
But I was on a budget.
Oh, so had you bought the house at this stage?
Yes. So I was on a budget, tight budget, because I thought that Simon and myself would be able to do a lot of the work.
Yes.
In our naivety. So when we had the rising damp assessed, we then found out that all the plaster work has to be taken off up to 1 metre high, exposed right back to the original brickwork so that the property can be tanked, treated for the rising damp and made dry again and then replastered so you can start with an empty shell to make it beautiful. So as I said earlier, there was a lot of wooden panelling and the work guys came and we said, look, we're on a tight budget here. What can we do to save some money? So they said, well, you can get all this panelling off and then you need to get to 1 metre high, completely clear, back to the original brickwork and then clear all the debris up. The mess is enormous, as you can imagine.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've done renovation projects indeed.
And
So yes, I know.
You can save money by doing this because it's big labour costs and removal of debris.
But now that you are educated, you know that means that you don't value your
course.
time.
Well, we got stuck in and we were making good headway and then it got to the wooden panelling and we were taking all that off. And behind the panelling, we saw then that the whole back of the house was constructed of a dry stone wall. And it was braced together with wooden battens. So I rang the guys up and said, look, we've got back to everything. It's a dry stone wall. I'm assuming I can leave these batons on because it looks like they're holding the back of the house up. No, you can't. You've got to have everything off because that wood will be damp and wet,
Yes.
and it will compromise the tanking of the property. So we thought, oh, sure, it'll be okay. We'll come back and do that tomorrow. So we went back the next day, and at this point, this was my knowledge of renovations, Ildiko. At this point, the kitchen had been ripped out, but for some reason I'd left the oven in, thinking it might come in handy. And I arrived back the next day with a small piece of pork, which I put into the oven, thinking we'll have lovely hot roast pork sandwiches at lunchtime while we're working on site. So went off to get on with getting back to the stone walls here, and we were removing the batons. It was all going well. And then got the aroma coming from the oven, smelling nice, spurring us on. And then we get to the last section under the floating staircase, as was. And we pulled the batons and we heard a rumble.
Oh,
and
dear.
Do you remember the game as a child? Did you ever play Kaplunk?
I didn't grow up in Britain, so probably I don't know.
It was a tower of marbles, and you had all little sticks in, and the game was to keep removing the little sticks.
It's a bit like Jenga.
Yes, and whoever pulled the stick and the marbles fell would lose,
Yes.
you see. Well, it was like a game of Kaplunk because we pulled the baton, we heard the rumble, and the stones started crashing down from the top. And, this was a 300-year-old cottage.
Was it listed?
Dry stone wall that was coming down. So we ran out, luckily, got out.
I was thinking that the roof might cave in.
Well, we didn't know what we were doing, but we ran out. And when we looked back in, you couldn't see a thing because obviously the dust that was on all the stones, just dust you could not see in. So what did I do? I rang Mike. So, Mike, Beth, are you all right? I said, well, we've had a little accident. What's happened? I said, well, the back of the house, it looks like it's fallen down. So he said, oh, no, what on earth have you been doing? So I explained.
Followed your advice.
I said, well, you can't go back in. You must not go back in because the house is dangerous. And I can get my guys there, but it's going to be a couple of hours. But they're going to have to prop the back of the house up. So you mustn't go back in. Right, okay. He said, have you got that? I said, yeah. I said, it's just that I will have to go back in. And he said, no, you can't. I said, Mike, I'll have to. And he said, why? I said, because I've got a piece of pork in the oven that I'm cooking for lunch. At which point he said, Beth, what type of renovation are you doing? I've never known anything like this in my life. So I said, well, if I don't go back in, I'll end up burning the house down. So, of course, I had to go back in, save the pork, and we had the pork sandwiches in the garden.
Did you wait for the dust to settle?
Supermen to come out and prop the back of the house up. So, yeah, it was a massive learning curve. We were very lucky that we didn't get hurt. Thankfully, Mike's team came in and... as I say, supported the back of the house, and we carried on, and it was okay in the end. It was okay. But when he finally came at the end to walk around the house, he said I'd done a really good job, but to leave the cooking at home next time.
I thought he was going to compliment you on your roast pork sandwiches as well.
He probably would have done.
Oh, my goodness.
But the thing is, this is all part of life's rich tapestry, isn't it? That we look back and we remember things.
So this was the pre-education story.
Pre-education, which there were so many things on that project, so many mistakes that I made that I now use it as a model.
I was going to say, do you find that you've learned so much from the one project?
So much that I did wrong, that I did... we did some training sessions recently where we did some live sessions out to the students, and I did mine on buying below market value, renovating and refinancing or flipping, selling. I'd got a few properties that I was using as examples, but that was a classic one to use as what not to do.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, because there were other things there where I didn't know about JCT contracts to get for your work team coming in.
Would you like to just say what it is?
I had some that were okay, but I had, in my naivety, I had some bodgers that came in that then the other people, tradespeople, and rightly so, refused to work with them because they didn't want their name to be put to this creation. And it was a case of me then having to let certain people go because they weren't up to standard so that I could get the other people back on site. You know, I made some classic mistakes. I went off on holiday thinking that the bathroom and the ensuite would be in when I got back. And I was arriving back from holiday and I was driving along thinking, I can't wait to see these. They're going to be gorgeous. And when I get there, nothing done, nothing. Because they'd fallen out, you see, and I'd not got these contracts and nothing had got done at all while I'd been away. And I'd wondered then why they weren't replying to my messages when I was away.
Yes.
But of course, again, naivety. And I think probably the biggest learning curve for that property was the fact that I didn't keep... I did keep an evidence of works and receipts and to showcase what I'd done to the property.
Okay.
But what I didn't do was I failed to turn up to meet the surveyor when I sold the property and the vendor's mortgage valuer came in. Okay. I didn't realise that I should be there. So I was naive. I left my folder there for them to look at thinking they would.
Unless you put it in their hand.
But they didn't, and it cost me the sale because they decided that they didn't like the property. As I said before, it was
this is a surveyor that didn't like the property.
And as I said in the beginning, it was a bespoke chocolate box cottage. There were no comparables to it in a little farming village. It was just, you know, a unique little property. And he downvalued it and I lost the sale. Now, ironically then, I had to put it back on the market, but ironically, it sold about 3 months later. And the same company came out for the new people that were buying to do the mortgage valuation. And when they arrived, my heart sank because I thought, well, I've blown another sale because they don't like it. And I was there with my file.
Was it the same company or the same person as well?
It was the same company, but it was a different person that came. And I'll always remember his name. He was called Graham because my dad was called Graham. So I'll always remember his name. And he introduced himself and I said, well, Graham, I know which company you're from and I don't know whether it's worth you coming in because you've already downvalued this property. I lost my previous sale, which cost me £30,000 because I've now agreed a sale at £30,000 less because it had been up for sale now for quite a few months. And I don't know whether it's worth you coming in. And he said, oh, no, that was my friend. He doesn't like old properties, but I do. And I thought, I can't believe this. So he came in, he looked at my evidence of works in my folder. He could see that we'd had a rewire, we'd tanked, we'd rebuilt the whole inside of the house. And he loved it. Yes. And the sale went through. But it just goes to show that if you're not educated, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you should be doing at each stage, that it will cost you time and it will cost you money and it will cost you a sale, which it costs me dearly. But it's a big learning curve and it's a great example for me to use for my students.
Yes. Isn't one of Paul's favourite sayings, if you're not earning, you're learning?
Absolutely.
So true. And
it is.
In Hungary, we've got a little saying that broadly translates that you always have to pay the student fee at some point, and that's your student fee in a way, that you learn from your mistakes. And it always costs money or time or both, and you learn from it.
I learn massively.
But I assume these...
But, you know, I think of it warmly now because it's a great template for me to teach from as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel the same, that we've been buying this shared house. The 2nd of January we viewed it. We might complete middle of December. You would not expect a house purchase to take nearly a year.
Is this for the HMO?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And we've obviously encountered a lot of hurdles along the way. Some ours, some other people's, valuer, other person's solicitors, ourselves. But I don't begrudge any of it This is our first shared house, and we decided to build a portfolio of it. So basically, this is our major learning curve every step of the way. So now when I go and view shared houses, I know what to ask up front, and know how to look at it from the outset rather than wait
It'll become your template for moving forward, won't
absolutely. So I really quite embrace all of these delays and all the lessons that these delays have taught us without shadow of a doubt.
And it's all part of the learning curve, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
You've already mentioned that at the beginning, obviously you sort of struggled a bit, and how did you find your own belief in yourself? Do you still have an inner critic telling you that you can't do it? And if you do, how do you silence it?
Always. I'm a big believer in mindset and the power of mindset, but I'm also more of a believer in the fact that you can't be lazy with mindset, and that it's something that you have to work on a daily basis. I'll hold my hand up and say it's a daily thing for me. I do beat myself up, and I do doubt myself, and I think the what you've got to be aware of is know that is who you are, and know that it's something that you've got to continually work on. And for anybody out there who might be struggling with confidence or self-belief, I say the first thing really to work on is your mindset. And that's where Anna Smith has really come in and helped so many people, including myself, with her knowledge and the advice that she shares.
Yeah, the recommendations. I've not done all of the mindset training, but done many.
Powerful. But I think as well, I mean, I spoke to... I had a wonderful Zoom call with a gentleman called Lee, who is South African. He lives in Johannesburg. And we had a Zoom meeting for about an hour about all of this. And he really educated me about paradigms, the power of a paradigm.
Yes.
And I didn't even know or understand what a
Have you ever heard of Bob Proctor?
Yes, of course.
I
love him, Bob Proctor, yes. But the paradigm he educated me about was the fact that, you know, it's a belief system, or it's something we're taught from day one. It might be something that our parents teach us, and it becomes a reality to us in our own mind. Yeah. It becomes a habit or a self-belief, but it's not, but it's called a paradigm because it's just a conditioning of the brain to believe that it is a reality. And the most powerful thing that you can actually do is to reset or move away from what you believe is the rigidity of your mindset, and to liberate your mind to think,
absolutely,
I do not have to follow this conditioning program that is this paradigm. And you know, our parents obviously have instilled things in us from being very tiny. They all say, oh, don't do that, you might hurt yourself. Or you mustn't go there because what if this happens? They do it out of love and kindness, and they want the best for us. But sometimes they can instill a mindset into us that will mean that we approach everything in life with trepidation and a sense of fear. Whereas to believe that we can transcend that by thinking differently is really quite a powerful thing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So I work on it daily. I encourage my students to work on mindset because the knowledge is fantastic, but without the mindset, you're not going anywhere, because the mindset is what will allow you to take action.
Yes.
It will set you free. Yeah.
I'm working lots on my limiting beliefs at the moment to open them up and believe that I can do things, and like hosting this podcast.
And you're fantastic. Look at you here now. You
amazing.
are amazing.
And this is my way, because I always wanted to teach all my life, and it's kind of become an interesting way of teaching people by taking bits of advice from others through the interviews.
Fabulous.
To help others succeed in business. And it's an amazing place to be.
Well, it's certainly lovely being here with you today.
Thank you.
You make me feel so relaxed. You're a natural.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit more about business in detail. So I imagine you have a power team. So would you like to talk about a power team in the property business?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Who are the best, or do you still have any gaps in your power team, or what kind of advice can you give?
It's a really good question, actually, because so often students especially will say, well, I haven't got anyone, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'll say, you find one good person, one good tradesperson, the rest will follow. And they'll say, well, how do I find a good tradesperson? And I think that's a really good question in itself, because if a tradesperson is good, that means they're booked up.
Yes.
That means they don't need to pay to advertise. So you're not going to find them. So the best way to actually get a link to a good tradesperson is to ask for recommendations, because people are always so happy to talk about, well, they'll talk about a bad experience, but they'll talk about a good experience
when you ask direct, yes.
So I always say, look, jump on your local Facebook, community Facebook. You might be looking. So for me, first it was, I wanted a plumber. Can anyone recommend a good plumber? And of course, you're going to get lots of people jumping on, and you'll see lots of names coming up, but you're looking for the repeat of a name.
Yes.
So once one name starts to get repeated, you think, I'm going to ring those first, because obviously they're doing something right. So you make contact, you get in touch, you explain what you're doing, and you know that you're going to need other people. So my plumber, that's what I did. He says, I've got a great electrician and I love working with him, and we can work on site together. So if you're needing something doing and I'm doing pipe work and he's doing electrics, we get on. And actually that proved to be true, because one of my recent projects was just a 1-bedroom apartment that had been empty for a couple of years. It was in a dreadful state. It was horrific. But it needed stripping back and needed a full rewire and a new central heating system. The floors had to come up, all new pipe work, everything.
Yes.
But they worked together. They were on the job together and they were great. So, getting people who will work together. So find one, they'll recommend you to the others, because they want to work with people that
they like and they get on with, indeed.
And then from there, it turned out that my plumber actually is a kitchen fitter as well. So that's very convenient. And he also fits bathrooms. So that's, well, of course, he's a plumber. One thing I've always struggled with is plasterers. Getting good plasterers. Because a lot of them are just so booked out and so busy. But I've got a great couple of guys now that they work on contract, actually, away all week, Monday to Friday. But I know I can call them and they will come and work for a weekend for me. They'll work on the weekend. So and I'm all right with that, because they're good and they're reliable and I like their standard of work. So it's okay. But power team, it's all about...
I was going to say contractors are just one part of a power team. Absolutely. But there's so many more people in that puzzle who make up a power team. Your for the property professional.
Your brokers, people that are going to help you with design elements, interior designers if you need that. There's so many people you can call on.
Who did you find the hardest to find who was fitting for you and your business?
Plasterers.
Okay, fair enough.
Plasterers, yeah. But I think we've got a nice crew of people. We all get on. It's great, no problems. And I've got a great broker who's become like a friend, really. We speak most days on the phone, actually, because we've just become such good mates, to be honest.
I think brokering, and that was one of our downfalls in this HMO purchase, is brokers. There's so many brokers in my network that for all my sins, I ended up asking 6 of them to quote us for a bridging loan, and that was way too many. It took us a lot of time for us to compare and decide. Yeah. So that's really hard to whittle it down to 1 or 2 because they all come across very good, and they're all recommended because they're all in the network. So sometimes it could be a bit of an overload.
It could, and also sometimes the cheapest broker isn't always necessarily the best broker to go to.
Definitely not.
Someone who's perhaps built up a network with lots of different lenders may be a touch more expensive, but they may actually have access to a wider scope of deals and offers that can come in at cheaper in the long run. So it's always worth shopping around, as I'm sure you'll agree.
Talked about a few little projects. What is your personal magic formula for getting work done?
Oh, it's being kind.
Oh,
It's being kind to the people that come in and work for you. It's never been rude or losing it if something doesn't go right or doesn't go to plan. It's about understanding that we've all got feelings and we all make mistakes. And if something's not working out, then we need to just unravel it, find out why, and let's make it right. But you don't burn bridges with people.
it's trying to find solutions.
Feel uncomfortable then around you. People don't want to work with you. So it's about keeping a harmony in everything that you do.
That sounds beautiful. But also, it's, again, the network, isn't it? Then
Yeah.
word would get around that I don't want to work for that person.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, as humans, we tend to live in a blame culture. And I think it comes with mindset as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Or doesn't it? That you think you have a solution focused rather than problem focused.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a beautiful place to be, indeed. What do you find most rewarding about being self-employed?
Oh, the freedom of time, the fact that, I don't have to put my raincoat on because I'm going out delivering loads of parcels anymore. Some of the weather that I worked through was, yes, there would be glorious sunshine. And when it was shorts and T-shirt weather, it was wonderful to be out delivering parcels, but that's not very often.
By the end of 2020, the rain came back.
The rain that I worked through. I'm surprised I haven't got webbed feet. So I think it's just lovely to know that I haven't got to report anywhere to anyone and clock in and out and be on that hamster wheel of the 9 to 5. I can just plan my days and do what I feel I need to do each day. And if I don't want to do something one day, then I'll have a day off. But that might affect my mindset though, Ildiko. So, I've got to weigh it up, haven't I? But that's what I love the most, the freedom.
By the end of 2020, the rain came back.
The rain that I worked through. I'm surprised I haven't got webbed feet. So I think it's just lovely to know that I haven't got to report anywhere to anyone and clock in and out and be on that hamster wheel of the 9 to 5. I can just plan my days and do what I feel I need to do each day. And if I don't want to do something one day, then I'll have a day off. But that might affect my mindset though, Ildiko. So, I've got to weigh it up, haven't I? But that's what I love the most, the freedom.
Do you have that just reminded me of a question I was going to ask. Do you have a set routine, either a morning routine or a daily routine or evening, any kind of routine that helps you?
No, not really. I'm pretty much where I'll get up and, I like to just I just like to have a nice mug of tea and a bit of breakfast, and I like to take my dog out for a walk. So perhaps that's a bit of a routine.
Yes.
So
how do you work on your mindset? What is your, because you did mention already that every day you think you do something about your mindset.
Predominantly that's when I'm out walking. Reggie Pickles, my little pug. He's such a good companion. He agrees with everything, he never talks back. He's just a little gem.
Is it the best conversation?
Oh, he's amazing. But I think mostly it's when I'm out walking, I'm out with nature. I just take that time to just be very grateful for everything that I have, just rebalance myself and affirm in my own mind that I'm on the right journey, and just to keep doing what I'm doing, and not to be overcritical that I might not be moving in the leaps and bounds that perhaps I pressure myself to be doing. But the fact that if I do something each day that takes me one step further on that road to where I'm going, then that's a successful day. And I believe that we should all try and look at life like that we're not going to get from A to B immediately. We're going to have
so
to do
hard,
it in
isn't it?
little increments. But enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride. And, you know, if we can't say, I used to say to myself, oh, I'll be happy when I've got such and such, or I'll be happy when I've achieved that. But in essence, that's all that's doing is perpetuating a cycle of never quite being happy. You're waiting to be happy.
Yes.
When in actual fact, it would be much better just to be happy and enjoy the moment.
As a state of mind rather than a destination,
And think, yes, I'm on my way to achieving that. I'm going to enjoy the journey. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just to try and enjoy the moment. And it's not always possible. You're going to have off days. Naturally we are. Or
absolutely.
Days where you feel a bit out of sync, or think, oh, I think I just want to get back in bed today and pull the quilt over. We all have those sort of days. But if you can just get through and achieve something each day that's a positive towards the destination that you're heading to, then from a mindset perspective and a feel-good perspective, then you're ticking the right boxes.
What has been the most rewarding thing in setting up this new business?
It's got to be seeing Theo fly. To see him in an aircraft, a Cessna, on his own, and taxi down that runway and take off and fly, and just watch him fly off. It will live with me forever. But as I go full circle back to the beginning, his drive, his ambition has allowed me to be ambitious too. And if that means that we can support each other on this journey, then that's got to be the absolute most incredible moment that will stay with me forever, yeah.
Now, from all your stories, it kind of comes across to me that everything is plain sailing, despite these little issues. Mind you, that was the pre-education, the wall falling down, but it feels from the conversation that since you got educated, projects are going a lot better. But what has been the greatest challenge in this journey of setting up?
It's always gone plain and smoothly. I mean, I had one that I was buying where I ended up not buying it, and I incurred costs, and I lost a couple of £1,000, you know, in fees and things on it. And that was because the mortgage valuer, when they came back, they just didn't like it. And they said it was too close to a pub, which I found really bizarre, because it was quite a few doors away, and I just didn't get it. But they were making me jump through hurdles and hoops to try and get the borrowing on it, and the offers I was getting were just making it where it didn't become an attractive deal to me anymore. So the easiest thing for me then was just to walk away and understand that not everything will always run smoothly, and that sometimes you do lose money, but also sometimes the best deal is the one that you walk away from.
Yeah, it could be, indeed.
Yeah. So I have lost money.
What are the biggest challenges that you're still finding in the property business?
The biggest challenge, I suppose, is finding the right property. And we'll hear this all the time, won't we? Finding the right property at the right price, and persuading someone to accept your offer. That's always going to be the biggest.
Mind you, you are famous for a very particular, very cheeky offer, aren't you?
Yes, I am, actually.
Go on, tell us that story.
Yeah, so there's a lovely market town called Bawtry, not far from here. And it's a lovely little, as I say, market town. It's got boutiques and restaurants and bars, and it's very pretty. And there was an apartment that came up for sale.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, in February last year, so it's quite a long time ago. And I saw it and I thought, yes, I want this. Lovely location. But it was quite unique because it had parking and a little garden, which is pretty rare. I thought, yes, I'd really like to buy this, but the price was just ridiculous. I thought, no way. It won't even be worth that when it's renovated, so this is a no-go. But I made my mind up that it was going to be mine. And I drive through that little market town every day. So what I started to do was, people will think I'm crazy, but I started to take a diversion every day because I take my son to school, I had to go through this market town. But I took a diversion every day, and I turned on the road earlier instead of going to the main traffic lights. I turned on the road earlier to go down the side road to then rejoin the road because it took me past this apartment. And every day I went past, I told the apartment it was mine. It was mine. It would be mine. And that's what I did. And I tracked it, and it was up for sale all year. And it got to August, and they'd reduced it from 125,000 it started off at. And they'd gradually reduced. And by the time it got to August, it was up for £85,000. And I still thought, no, it's too expensive because I know it needs a lot of work doing. So, but it was at that point that I thought, right, I'm going to now arrange my first viewing on this apartment. So I did. And I viewed the apartment. And it was worse than I imagined. It really was bad. And I came out and I thought, do I really want this? Because it's really quite a monster. But I thought, well, at the right price, anything is attractive, isn't it? So I carried on with my ritual where I was driving past. I was like, you're mine, you're mine.
Amazing.
And then got to September, and I noticed it had been put into an auction. And I thought, oh, this is it. Someone's going to snap it up in the auction, perhaps. But it was still on at 85. And I thought, I can't see this selling. So I watched the auction, and it failed to sell. So I thought, right, this is my time now. So I'd found out from the agent that it was actually a probate sale, and there were 3 beneficiaries who were going to receive the sale proceeds. So I thought, right, if I tell the agent my offer, and this agent then rings the 3 individual beneficiaries and explains why my offer is so bad, is she going to, in reality, be able to explain what I've said to her to each of them in the same way?
Likely
or
not.
like Chinese whispers, are they all going to hear a different story? So what I decided to do was I wrote an email explaining my pathetic offer and justifying it. And I sent that to the agent, and I asked if she would kindly send that on to each beneficiary so that they all could read the same and then make a decision based on the same knowledge. Unfortunately, she sent the message on.
I think they have to, don't they? If you put it in writing.
I was told, you'll be lucky, right, with my offer. So I actually offered £50,000. And I didn't expect the offer to be accepted. I expected it to be a starting point at which we would negotiate. And 4 days went by and I didn't hear anything. And I was starting to forget about it because I was thinking, well, I've obviously offended them.
Did you still do your ritual?
Yes,
you still drove by.
You're mine. You're mine. And the 4th day I got a phone call, and the agent was like, Beth, I've got some really good news. And she said, and I don't know how you've done this. And I said, what's that? And she said, they've accepted your offer.
You justified it. I think that
£50,000. So I bought the apartment and I did a full renovation, and then I refinanced it and I got all my money back out. So I've got what's called an infinite ROI on that, rate of return, return on investment. Sorry, and it's just such a beautiful apartment that I don't think I'll ever be able to sell it because I just love it. And I love the story, and I love the whole emotion of it that I set out for it to be mine. And
you totally manifested it.
I did. And I brought it into fruition, and I just love it. It's beautiful.
It's such a sweet little story.
Yeah.
And do you have tenants in there, or do you?
Yes, I've got a lovely tenant. She is just fantastic. She's got a little sausage dog. They're both so happy, and she's just. We went recently because we were doing some extra work. We decided to make a bin store, and it's all very pretty and nice, and she's over the moon. And she just said she's so happy there. She's
It's
so
really nice
happy.
that the end of the story is that you are supporting a local person
Yes.
to remain
and
local.
It's one of my missions is that I love to think that old, ugly, tired, neglected, forgotten properties can be made beautiful again so that someone can call that place home. And it's
Absolutely.
just so rewarding. It's
I think
lovely.
one of the nicest parts of being a property developer
Yes.
investor, isn't it? That's my little mantra for our property companies is to inject TLC into neglected properties.
Beautiful.
And provide beautiful
Lovely.
modern homes for people, isn't it?
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
sounds to be exactly yours as well. Definitely.
It is, definitely, yeah.
So what particular advice would you give somebody who is starting out in property? Any key
To get
advice?
educated.
Get educated.
That's the most important thing. I mean, we wouldn't just start driving a car on the roads without having lessons and taking the appropriate exams
That's very
first,
true.
would we? So I think I can definitely say that I'd dabbled in property over the years and I'd made a lot of mistakes and costly mistakes. So definitely, it's education is key. It's paramount to knowing how to do things, how to buy properties in the correct entities, as you will know, Ildiko, and just to take the correct steps forward, knowing that you're doing this in a sound way.
That's a very important message. And do you find being older or starting up a new business in a later stage of your life, do you find it beneficial, hindering?
For me personally, I found it massively beneficial because if I think back to delivery driving only a couple of years ago, I would never have believed that I would be sitting here now with you talking about what we're talking about. I would never believe that I had done the projects that I've done. And I know I've got great projects to come. But I would also never believe that my son is flying planes. I wouldn't believe that I'm travelling and experiencing some great places in the world. And I wouldn't believe that I would have the freedom that I've got just in the space of 2 years.
Yes.
But also, I wouldn't believe that I've been invited to now be a property training coach to educate other people. So for me to have this life change, it couldn't have come at any other time in my life. It had to be now because I wasn't ready for before. And I needed my son to reach a certain age so that he could teach me how to believe in myself. So it could never have been at any other time. The time is now. So for anybody out there who was thinking, oh, it's too late, I've left it too late. It's never too late. You're always going to be the age that you are.
Yes.
You can't change that. But what you can change is what you do today in your life at this age that you are now. And just make the rest of your life the best of your life. And just enjoy each moment.
Just embrace everything that comes. That's beautiful.
But what you can change is what you do today in your life at this age that you are now. And just make the rest of your life the best of your life. And just enjoy each moment.
Just embrace everything that comes. That's beautiful. Now, as we are a little bit older, technology can play havoc with us. How do you personally find?
Well,
is there a technology gap?
Curve for me because I was more. I'm a big notepad and pen person, so spreadsheets, things like that. They just really get me. But luckily, Theo is very tech orientated, and he's just an absolute whiz kid on the computer. So it's great to have Theo helping me and assisting me, but also teaching me because he encourages me to learn as well. So more recently, because I'm doing presentations as part of my coaching work for students, I'm having to develop my own slide decks to present, on webinars, etc. And they take time. But they take even longer when you don't know what you're doing. So, it's been a massive learning curve there for me. But Theo's been very patient. He's been training me. But now he will insist, look, just get on with it. And I'll say, oh, God, it's taking me forever. And he'll say, yeah,
sweet.
but it's going to until you learn how to do it. So he's great. He gives me that nudge, push, but then he'll come and check what I'm doing as well. So I am learning. I am getting there.
But just think of why you're returning to him, because he's learning about business and running your life at such an early age. And that's beautiful, the way you are teaching each other.
It is. It's great.
Different lessons in life. That's cool. So I think I got to the end of my questions, and you shared some lovely stories. And if you could summarize it, I think, yes, education and knowing your why are your biggest sort of advice to anyone getting into business.
Definitely. Find and tap into the why. And I always say to people, who, what, and why. Who are you now? But who do you dream of being? Who in reality would you like to be? What are you doing now? But what could you do to become the person who are you wanting to be? And why? Why are you doing this? What is something that's so strong inside you that it'll fuel that desire that no doesn't become an option? That you're just going to take the bull by the horns. You're going to do it because the alternative is just staying where you are. For me, that's more scary, to stay and remain the person that I was. Whereas if I just take the leap of faith, then I know that I'm on the journey to become the new me, the best version of myself. And that is a journey that we will be on now, Ildiko.
Absolutely.
We're on this road. There's no going back. And I encourage everyone to dare to find out who they really are, who they can be, and what they can do. But ultimately, why do they want to do it?
Wonderful. I think, well, we're not going to close just yet because I'll do a little quick fire round, but what a beautiful end to your story. Thank you for sharing all that with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. I'm so passionate about everybody finding their why and understanding, because it really will spur you on.
Amazing. No wonder that Paul and the team asked you to be a coach. I mean, your energy, never mind all the things that you've done in the first year or so with Touchstone, but I think your energy shines through, and that's why we all love you.
Oh, thank you so much, and we love you too. But we're all part of the team and the network, and it's just the joy you get from helping others. It comes back to you tenfold anyway. Whatever you give out, you get back tenfold, always, and I believe that so strongly.
I do too, absolutely. Cool. So let me do a quick fire round.
Okay.
To close off. We kind of touched on this, but I'll ask anyway. Do you have any regrets for not setting up a business, which could be any business or this business, earlier in your life?
No, I set businesses up earlier. I set my business up that I ran for years, and I haven't got any regrets that it took me to this stage in my life to do what I'm doing now, because it couldn't have happened until now. So it's all part of that natural journey, that natural evolvement of becoming the best version of me. But it had to happen
at the right
once
time.
I hit my 50s. It had to happen in this time. Yeah.
Would you consider setting up another business?
Yes, absolutely. Things will naturally evolve and come to me as I progress on this journey that I'm on now. Definitely.
And would you have any ideas of what other business you might set up in the future?
I've got a few notions, a few ideas about setting some kind of property in the north type thing up, but it's early days yet. It's just a seed in my mind that may sprout and grow, but at the moment it's just a thought. But yes, I'm sure something will be happening.
A little seed is germinating.
Yes.
I don't think there's even a point asking a question. Are you thinking about retiring anytime soon?
No.
No point in asking the question. And
why? When I loved it, what I'm doing, and it gives me a buzz, and I love the people that I'm around. Well, that would just make me feel lonely, wouldn't it?
Yes, true. Would you have a favorite book that relates to business, or in particular property business, that you would happily recommend to listeners and those who are starting out in the property business?
I've read a few that have been really good, but there's one that I'll always go back to, and it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's been the ultimate for me because it's taught me the value of understanding good debt and bad debt. And I think once you've got clarity of that in your mind, you'll move mountains. So for me, and I can't remember it. I can't say his surname. Can you? It's
Kiyosaki.
Robert. There you are.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes.
Yeah. Interestingly, for me,
fabulous book.
The follow-up book, the Cash Flow Quadrant, was just so eye-opening.
Yes.
It was drastic, big time.
And then anything to do with Bob Proctor is
absolutely
just incredible, isn't it?
Going back to the earlier mention, I mean, he actually has a book called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life.
Yes.
That is so educational.
It's just amazing, isn't it? I just, sometimes I'll just put YouTube on just because I want to listen to his old recordings, and the value that you get out of this. And, I would say to anyone, because people say, oh, I haven't got time to do that. Oh, I haven't got time to learn about anything. And I just think, well, do you watch a soap? Perhaps don't watch that soap, but learn something new or listen to something new and just see if something shifts in your mind and you feel something different that makes you want to find out more. Dip your toe.
Do you have a favorite podcast that helps you get better at business or property?
No, I wouldn't say that I do, actually. I'm one of these that I'm like a butterfly. I'll flip from one thing to the other, and I just like random, just to go on and just see what
so you
I'll
can
click on.
recommend.
But actually, the Encorepreneurs Club is absolutely wonderful about new businesses in later life.
Thank
I
you very
would
much.
recommend that one.
And the final question: do you have anybody in mind who you would recommend for me to interview to talk about new business in later life?
Paul Smith.
I've already asked him, and he said yes.
Did he say yes?
Yes, he said yes.
Well, there you are then.
Thank you.
As recommended.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up this episode. So thank you very much, Beth, for coming on the show.
Pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
I really do appreciate your time and your stories.
It's been fantastic.
And it's been wonderful to have you on the show.
Thanks, Ildiko.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
I will do. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.
A huge thank you to Beth for sharing her journey in property and coaching. I hope Beth's story has shown you the possibilities that come with reinvention. Here at New Business in Later Life, we celebrate those who leverage their expertise into new ventures. If you've been considering a career change or starting a business, remember that your life experience is invaluable. Trust in yourself and take that first step. And for those interested in connecting with Beth about property or coaching, please check her contact details in the show notes. Thank you.